Hello Stampers, it's Debbie with Stamp It with Debbie, and I'm here tonight to show you a ghoulishly goodie card that I created using something that's not so traditional. You're going to like it though, so hold on. I'm going to show you exactly what I'm going to be using. The Ghoulish Goodies stamp set from the holiday catalog, and then I'm also going to be using the Snow Globe Scene die set. Now, that's not so traditional, Snow Globe Scene with a Halloween card. So bear with me, keep watching, don't give up yet. I want to show you real quick what comes in the Snow Globes die set. So it's traditional items that you might find in a snow globe. Also, you're going to find the snow globe, which is the part that would go on top of here. Now that is in the annual catalog, and I just wanted to show you real quickly. Trying to move stuff out of the way. So it's here on page 182, but then there is a coordinating stamp set, and that's over here in the annual catalog on page 58. So it has these really pretty stamps that go with that. But I'm not going to be using it as a Christmas stamp set. I'm going to be using it for something else. The other thing that I'm going to be using today is this fun Magic in the Night Designer Series paper. Now, all week I'm going to have a couple projects to show you, and I'm going to be using this paper and maybe some other papers too. I don't know. I'll just have to wait and see what comes up out of my magic hat. So, again, if you have the snow globe scenes, you're going to want to definitely create this project. So I'm just going to pick up these other dies here so I don't lose them. I do keep mine in a little plastic envelope. I know some people keep theirs in on a magnetic sleeve. I tried that and I felt like I actually did lose a die that way. So now I just try to keep them in a clear envelope inside of the plastic sleeve. And I'm going to set that aside, and again, we're going to use this. Let me tell you what we're going to be needing for today's card. I'm using a piece of rich razzleberry, cut it 8.5 by 5.5. And then I'm also using, trying not to lose all my pieces, gray granite, cut it 4 by 5.25. I am using a piece of this designer paper, cut at 3 inches by 4 inches. I have a piece of Whisper White cut at 1.25 by 2.5, and a piece of black cut at 1.25 by 1, and I've scored it at 1/2 inch there. And I'm going to set those aside for just a minute because I think that I'm going to show you first, because I can't wait, I'm so excited to show you what I'm using this for. Now, I have a piece of black cardstock. I'm also using my classic label punch. So the first thing I'm going to do, we'll do this first. I'm going to punch 2 of the classic label punches out with that piece there. Then I'm going to bring in my Big Shot real quick. Don't want to lose my die. And I'm going to just cut this snow globe scene. Or snow globe, the snow globe piece out with that. I don't really like using my Big Shot on camera. It feels like it takes up the whole space, so I don't do it very often, but I wanted to show you the whole process. So now I have this piece and these 2 pieces. And I'm sure maybe you have guessed by now what I'm going to make. Anybody know? Let's go ahead and start. And if you have a guess, go ahead and put it in the comments. I'm going to put a little of my liquid adhesive right here. Now I turned the snow globe so the flat part is up here. I'm going to take this everyday label piece and put it right there at the top. Now I'm going to take my paper snips and I'm going to cut this apart. I'm going to put adhesive on that flat edge there on both of these pieces. And there we go. I created a cauldron. How about that? Isn't that so fun? I like creating things with different punches or something that it wasn't necessarily created for. I'm going to try to zoom in just a little. I don't know if I can do that being live. Looks like I cannot. I wanted to zoom my camera down just a little bit, but hopefully you can all see that. So we have a cauldron there. So now I'm going to take my Versamark and I'm going to stamp with this stamp set for Frightfully, right here, to a Frightfully Good Friend. It also says the most spectacular time of the year. It's a trick, not just a treat. And I'm stamping this with Versamark, and I'm also going to, I know you can't see this, I'm going to stamp 2 little spiders on this side. I like the spiders. It's got a little pumpkin. It says boo. It's really cute. Okay, let's just pretend for the magic of camera, I put on some white embossing powder and I emboss this. So it's not going anywhere. All right, I'm going to set my stamp set aside. So now we can start creating. We do have a little bit more stamping to do, but not too much. So I'm going to go ahead and fold my card base in half, and I'm going to set that aside. I need a little scrap piece of paper, and I'm going to take my smoky slate and my smoky slate ink, and I'm going to stamp up my little cat. And I'm just going to do some random stamping. The cat doesn't need to be in the right direction, just on there. I don't think this matters, but I'll stamp those in the middle too. Now we will need that cat stamp one more time, but not quite yet. So I'm going to move my scrap paper there. And I'm going to take my card base and I'm going to attach this piece of smoky slate to the top of the card. Then I'm going to take my 3x4 designer paper. Don't you like the back too? I always have a hard time deciding which color should go on my card. I did go with the spiders because I thought that was pretty spooky and it matched the card base color. So that's what I did on this one. So now I need to do a little bit of stamping. So I'm going to set that aside for just a minute. And now I told you that this piece is 1 1/4 by 1. I scored it at 1/2 inch. So I'm just going to fold that in half and burnish it real well. I'm going to put liquid adhesive on both sides here. You guys, do you make Halloween cards or projects? I have some 3D projects that I'm going to be making this week, and I love passing them out. And I know right now we're in a time where people don't feel comfortable taking homemade treats, so I always make sure to get treats that are wrapped, but I'm still going to do that this year. I'm going to hand it out to my mail carrier and people at the grocery store and my neighbors, anybody that I can find that I think that just needs a little pick-me-up. And last year I went to, well, I'll tell you as I'm doing it. So I folded this in half. I'm just going to adhere this right on top. So last year I went to a shopping center near my home. It's called Eastwood Town Center. And I had a bag full of treats, and I went into our Apple store and I just passed it out to everyone, and they couldn't believe that somebody would actually give them a treat because they said no one had ever done that before. So I'm definitely going back there this year. So now I'm taking a white gel pen and I'm going to write pull on there. Now if you have a stamp that says pull, you can definitely stamp it on there. And then I'm going to take this cat one more time, and I'm going to stamp him on there, And I've probably told you this before, I just like to hold my stamp down. I'm not rocking it, I'm just holding it to make sure that all the ink, oh, look at, I smudged. I'll put something there. I must have rocked it. And I told you don't rock it, but I don't typically rock it. I just hold it there so that all the ink can transfer off of the stamp and onto here. I'll do something to fix that, so I'm not worried at all. I'm going to use the cinnamon cider, light cinnamon cider for my cat's nose. I'm going to use my dark Granny Apple Green for the eyes. And I'm going to use my dark Highland Heather for the collar. Now for that little tag hanging off the collar, I'm going to get my basic jewels, rhinestones, and I'm going to color them in, color one in with the dark Granny Apple Green. And then I'm going to put it right there on that collar piece. Okay, so now the idea is we're going to put this little cap behind the cauldron and then they can lift it up and down. But we don't want to put, we need to put dimensionals on the back of this cauldron, but we don't want to put them where it's going to get in the way of the cap pulling up and down. So I matched the black right up with the top here, and I'm going to turn it right over. This way I know exactly where my dimensionals need to go, and they won't be in the way of that piece sliding up and down. And so on this bottom part, I'm going to put kind of a little stopper. So I'll put that one there. And then again, we just want to make sure it doesn't hang off the edge of the cauldron. And we also want to make sure that it's not going to be in line with where the white piece here is going up and down. So I'm just putting, I guess, 5 dimensionals on the back here. And then I can take these off. I see that we have some other people. I'm just kind of watching comments. I don't normally respond to comments because I don't like the distraction, but I can see a couple people have said that they do like Halloween projects. So me too. All right, so now I'm just going to gently lay this on here to make sure that it's where I want it to be before I secure it down. And yep, that looks real good to me. So I'm going to go ahead and secure all of the dimensionals there. Now this piece will be able to be pulled up and down here. Now I wanted to do one more thing, and I wanted to add some little, you know, when you see a witch's cauldron, you kind of see some green goo going out the top. Well, I'm taking a 3/4 inch punch, and I'm using the Granny Apple Green. Now this is a retired punch, but, and I could have used one of my dies. I could have looked through the dies, but the punch was easier to me, so that's what I got. Now I'm going to arrange these little gooey bubbles around the cauldron. And you can put them, just again, make sure don't put them so they're going to be in the way of that piece pulling up. And then I think I'll put one over here. And then these, I think that I'm going to put a dimensional off to this side here. That way when I put it over, it will match the dimension of the cauldron. And so I think I'll do that on this one too. I guess this one I'm going to grab this little leftover piece. So I'll just put that on this side. And then, oops, you want to make sure that the dimensional is on the outside because this side is already being held up by the cauldron. And so There we go. So of course you're going to want to, because this card is a dark color, you're going to want to put a piece of Whisper White or Smoky Slate on the inside. And this stamp set has so many fun things. I think it would be super fun to do this witch here with the cauldron and the cat, or even this Dracula on the inside. And then if you want to make a little treat to go with it, I think it would be fun to put, it's not a trick, it's just a treat. And you could put that on the inside and then give it along with a little treat that you're giving someone. So if you like this video, go ahead and if you're watching me on YouTube, click subscribe so that you never miss another project, and share with your friends. And if you're watching on Facebook, I forgot to say at the beginning, thank you so much for joining me tonight. If you're new here, I hope that you'll come back and watch again. This week I'm going to have a couple, as I said, a couple other Halloween treats to share with you, 3D projects. And if you have watched before and if you've shared, thanks so much. That's what keeps my Facebook group going and my YouTube channel growing, and I really, really appreciate you all so much. So thank you again, and I hope to see you again real soon. Have a great night.